What's up, everybody? Welcome to New York Comic Con. Petey here, celebrating BlumFest, 15 years of Blumhouse with Jason Blum.
Oh, yes. Hello. Thank you for having me.
Thank you for hanging, man. Congratulations on 15 years.
Thank you. Thank you
awesome.
very much. Thank you very much.
Can we start by looking, because you just looked ahead during the panel, can we look back at 15 years of Blumhouse?
For sure. What should we look at?
I just want to know what stands out to you when you look at it. You're like, what kind of is your proud? I know it's like picking a favorite child, but do you have like a proudest moment?
Sure. Pivotal moments for me were the first test screening of Paranormal Activity. We went into the test screening with everyone saying you're going to remake the movie with movie stars, and we came out of the test screening with Steven Spielberg's company is going to do a wide release of your movie. Pretty great.
I remember that movie just becoming a phenomenon.
It was amazing.
Yeah.
Oscars for Get Out.
Yep.
Pretty amazing.
That's good stuff.
Oscars for Whiplash. Pretty amazing. An Emmy for The Jinx, an Emmy for Normal Heart, pretty amazing. Those were a few of the highlights. Those were a few.
A few, to name a few. Those are pretty good highlights.
Those are good highlights.
If it's a roller coaster, the heights are pretty high.
The heights are high. Yeah.
That's awesome, dude. And so now talk about the panel. You guys just gave looks at Drop, Megan 2, Wolfman, a lot of exciting stuff. Of those, do you have one that you think is really going to catch audiences by surprise? I mean, Megan was one of those that became a phenomenon.
Sure.
I feel like a surprise hit, a sleeper hit. Of these movies you guys just previewed at New York Comic Con, is there one you think is really going to stand out and resonate?
We have 10 movies coming out next year. It's almost twice as much as we've ever had. That's Atomic Monster and Blumhouse combined. So
do you sleep?
No. Wolfman, Drop, Woman in the Yard, Black Phone 2, Five Nights at Freddy's 2, Megan 2, Mortal Kombat 2, Conjuring 4, Monkey, and then a movie called Lost Bus, which we did with Paul Greengrass. And look, it's easy to make 10 movies. It's hard to make 10 great movies. 10 movies anyone can make movies, but making them great is the key. And I have really confidence in all the movies we're releasing next year. It's going to start with Wolfman, and it's going to be a great year. For Atomic Monster and Blumhouse fans, it's going to be a great year.
I can't wait for Wolfman. Can you talk to me about the design of the Wolfman?
Oh, for sure. Lee was... it was almost the first thing. Once he had the script, the first thing he started working on was the design of Wolfman, and we wanted a Wolfman that sort of like a sequel that resembled a wolf enough, but also was like a wolf we'd never seen. And I really feel like Lee came and found that, and it fit. The look of the Wolfman fits what the role of this wolf is in this movie in an extraordinary way.
Oh, that's gonna be cool. Megan had some viral moments that just captured mainstream phenomenon in memes and social media and all that stuff. Do you expect that out of 2.0?
I hope for that. But if the minute you try and get a viral moment, it never goes viral, right? So the last thing I said to the director was like, you better have viral moments for Megan too, because that'd be the first way we wouldn't get them.
It.
So instead I said to the director, just do your thing and have fun and make a great movie, and that's what he did.
Okay, very cool. And it's I mean, we just talked about Lee's movie. You've worked with Lee so many times. How is that relationship with Lee? And you work with same filmmakers and often same actors, and I feel like that builds a cool rapport with you guys. How has your relationship with Lee evolved into what you guys are doing with Wolfman now to make it an even better experience?
Yeah, well, I feel like we have a real repertory company with Chris Landon, with Lee, with Scott Derrickson, with Mike Flanagan, with Allison, and I think the best work comes from repeat business. With Scott Cawthon, when you work with people again and again, you have a shorthand with them, and I think it makes for great work. And I don't even remember your question anymore. What was your question
just
about?
Just working with Lee. How's the relationship evolved?
And working with Lee. Well, with Lee, it's our 8th movie together, and we have a real shorthand and a real great creative relationship, and we really understand each other. He really understands the company, the many facets of the company. Our executive, Bea, has worked on almost every movie with him, so it's very comfortable, I would say, and very fun.
Very cool. And of all the things you just talked about, there are a few projects you're attached to that we're not part of next year's slate yet. We'd love to hear about if you can say anything, if you want to say anything. One is the Five Nights sequel, the Freddy sequel. Can you talk about anything about what we can expect when that comes along?
No, that is part of the sequel.
That's 2025?
That's 2020, buddy.
Oh my God! Wait
you
a second.
Missed it. We
Dude,
revealed the poster and the date.
I had to run over here.
Yes. No. The 3 sequels are Megan, Black Phone, and Five Nights at Freddy's coming out.
So give me a taste of Freddy's, because I was running up here.
Well, it's the fun thing about the sequel to Freddy's is Scott was played the same role in the second movie they did in the first movie, but now Scott really is like totally gets the movie business, so it's even more of his vision, and and it's going to be amazing. I mean,
how do you follow that up?
We start shooting the movie in a week.
Such a good
only Scott Cawthon could follow it up, and he did. And Emma and the cast. We've got all the original cast back, and our director Emma, who's did a terrific job with the movie. So yeah, comes out next year.
Dude, speaking of Scott Derrickson did such a good job on Black Phone, man. I can't wait to see Black Phone 2. Speaking of following something up, that was a big success. I mean, that movie was so dark, but never like gratuitous or anything too crazy like that. What are you guys doing to follow up the enormous success and reception to Black Phone 1?
Well, the movie did very well, and I wanted to make a sequel, but on a movie like Black Phone, there is no sequel unless Scott and Ethan want to come back. Mm-hmm. And there's no. I've worked with both of those guys long enough to know they don't care what I have to say to them. Like, they're not doing a movie because I want a sequel or not. The only way the sequel would happen is if they said, particularly Scott and Cargill said, look, I think there's more to this story we want to tell. So when I got that phone call, I was very happy.
Yeah, I bet.
I said, guys, this is great news. And Ethan was willing to come back if it was Scott and Cargill. So I really think this second chapter of Black Phone is going to be very, very special. And if it weren't those guys, we never would make it.
What an embarrassment of riches. I mean, just phenomenon hits that we're talking about here. And you know me, I'm a comic book fan, man. And I heard you talking a little bit about Spawn, how you guys are working on the script. What can you share about what it takes to get a Spawn movie right and why you guys are taking your time on the script? And if you have a timeline, I don't know. I know these things are always, varying, but just... I'm excited for when you get to that.
I just remind everyone Five Nights at Freddy's took 10 years because it's not just making it, it's making something that fans will love. Yeah. And the same thing has to be with Spawn. We got a script, a while ago, and we're working on the script, but I'm not going to make the movie until the script is exactly right. It's not exactly right yet. I hope we get into production, but I'm not going to go into production on it until we have a script that we love.
Love to hear it, brother. Thank you so much for the time, man. I can't wait to see what you got coming in 2025 and beyond. Here's to another 15 years.
All right.
Hi, I'm Brandon.
Hi, Allison.
Nice to meet you, Allison.
I really thought you just said I'm random. But
I am also a bit random, yeah. No, I could be random.
I ran it back and I was like, he didn't say he was random.
No, I'm random. I'm here to talk to you about Star Trek.
Okay, great. I have nothing to say.
I've never watched it either.
Me neither.
I actually interviewed the Star...
You do this. You do this. This is what you do.
I interviewed the Star Trek cast at Comic-Con, and they called me out on not having watched the show. Oh boy, that was a nightmare.
Have you consumed any Star Trek?
I've never watched Star Trek in my life. But I do watch Blumhouse movies. I'm not the only person in the world who hasn't seen Megan. Megan became an awesome hit, and now we're on to 2.0. First, I want to go back to like the sensation that was the first Megan and what that experience was like for you. When did it kind of set in? What a phenomenon the movie became and how much fun people were having, watching, and talking about the film.
When did it set in? I think it was probably when the trailer came out. That was like one of the most fun days of my life. Like, we were all like sort of ready, and we had gone back and forth on cuts of it and everything, and we were like, okay, here it is, it's ready, let's see what happens. And the world was like, yes, and we were like, oh my god, this is so great. And the dance, and it just was like so affirming and so exciting, and not an experience you can at all plan for or try to engineer. There's just no predicting whether or not it's going to work out that way, and we just felt so lucky and psyched that the audiences were like, no, we get what you're doing, we're into it, we're down, we know her, we love her. We were just like, this is going to be so fun, because we're marketing a vibe that people feel like they already are familiar with, rather than this new idea that we were going to have to explain to everybody.
What is the number one thing people want to talk to you about? Is it the dance, or is there like another element of the film, whether it's a fan or just people on these press lines, that when they ask you about the movie, like what is the most common thing, the most common topic from the film?
I think people just kind of want to know what it's like to like make these movies and be around Megan. And it's a tough thing to answer, because there's like a bunch of different ways she's achieved. I know with like my friends, the number one thing they want to see is like pictures of Megan or like video of Megan. They really want to like understand what is Megan. And
send me those, please.
Yeah, exactly. The answer is like sometimes she's Amy Donald, who's this like incredibly talented, lovely young woman from New Zealand who is 13 now. And then sometimes she's CGI, but not a lot. Most of the time she's an animatronic robot. And that is the version of her that I find the most uncanny, and it's the version that the Comic-Con audience got a sneak peek of today. And it's wild to see her. And I was saying on stage that this time around, I took a lot of footage of us doing scenes together, like surreptitiously from my phone, because I was like, no one's going to believe that this is practical. It
Right.
looked so uncanny that I was like, no one's going to buy this, so I have to film it myself so they understand. And I was like, and I'm not fucking with her performance because it's all programmed, so we're good there.
Has
her
the
eye line is fine. She can't see. You know?
Has the animatronic evolved at all for like the second one? Like, what were the differences in the experience since it has evolved?
I can't go into that in too much detail. All I will say is that it has evolved, and there was a big difference in the execution of it that I probably will start talking about closer to the release of the movie, but I can't talk about it yet.
I'll look
But
out
yeah,
for
it was
it.
incredibly cool and a same but different experience. Yeah.
I love it. Well, thank you so much for talking with me today. Enjoy the rest of your convention.
Nice talking to you, Random.
Random out. Chris, I'm Brandon. Great to meet you.
Hey, nice to meet you.
Thanks for hanging at New York Comic Con.
Thank you.
Just debuted the first, a small amount of details. You guys are keeping some secrets, but you guys shared some insights about Drop at New York Comic Con. Talk to me about, first of all, what it was like to finally put a bit of this out in the world.
It was exciting. I mean, it's funny because it's in some ways early. Like, I'm still finishing the movie right now, so there's that. But no, I think we're all just sort of ready to get out there and share this thing that we're really proud of, that we're excited about.
So we have like a synopsis for the film, but I loved hearing your words. Like, this journey she's about to go on sounds pretty intense.
It's very
Where did it
intense.
come from? Where is it going?
So the idea came from some producers, our producers on the movie. They were in a restaurant, and they started to receive airdrops from somebody in the room, and they were like funny pictures apparently of like dogs and stuff. But they couldn't figure out who was sending them, and so that was sort of the genesis of the idea. It was like, these untraceable things that you can receive on your phone, and you don't know who's sending them. And really, our movie is about how someone weaponizes that technology.
What a concept. It's funny that it came from a real life experience. Dude, I've been on planes and people just all of a sudden they're like,
they just get stuff.
Yeah, like, oh, there's Joe Biden showing up on my phone. It's just a meme. Like, I don't know. It's somebody sending me.
What is this?
One thing you do really well is you make really strong women as your lead characters, and it's really cool the way you do it. It's just so organic. It always tells a good story. I'd love to hear about how you're doing that again here with Megan Feig's character.
Yeah, I mean, Megan's character is really complex because she begins the movie in a very fragile, kind of vulnerable place, and for a while, she is a total victim who's trapped and is under someone else's control, until she really starts to figure out that she has to try and find a way to outsmart her perpetrator.
Okay, I'm excited for that. One thing about Blumhouse movies, we're celebrating 15 years of Blumhouse during that BlumFest panel just now. It's insane, 15 years. The level of intensity, whether it's violence or scares, it varies.
Right.
PG-13, R, all that kind of stuff. Can you speak to how far we might go in Drop? How intense does the movie get?
It's funny because I don't write or direct movies toward any particular rating.
Sure.
So I always let the story generally dictate that stuff. We started. It is very intense.
Okay.
But it's not a gory movie.
Sure,
It's not. It's a thriller.
Yeah. I prefer that. That's where I live.
Yes. I'm all about that. But I'll say that when we submitted the film the first time to the MPAA, we got a very hard R, and I did not remove much of anything to get us down to a PG-13, which we do have now. But I think the intensity of what is happening in the movie it's very adult.
I find it so interesting working with the MPA because the notes you guys must get, like on the tiniest little details, where it's like you got to do one last frame of this.
It's a lot of like micro adjusting, but it's their system, and we try and figure it out.
Of course. I got to ask you because my camera guy here, Russ, he was asking me to ask you because he's a big Happy Death Day fan. He's like begging me to ask you, where's Happy Death Day 3? And I mean, I personally would love to know too.
See that fucking guy over there? Turn your camera.
His name rhymes with Schmason Schmum.
I don't know. Jessica and I have been wanting to do it forever. I have the treatment. I have it ready. I didn't write the script yet because I didn't want to put the cart before the horse. But yeah, we would love to make it. Yeah. Not just for us. Like we have a story that we know we could
You
finish.
left it open for a little bit.
Oh, we did.
Yeah,
we did.
yeah.
And it's a really cool idea.
Dude, okay. Maybe one day we'll get there, and the next interview will be that. Well, hopefully we'll talk about Drop again when we know a bit more about the movie. Thank you so much for sharing some insights with me, though. Enjoy the rest of your convention.
All right,